everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on Trigun episode 7. Yeah, see, I couldn't wait, because after episode 6, I was like, whoa, wait, what about Vash? What's happening? We just got like a whole lot of world building set up in like 2 seconds, and I was like, wait, what is going on? So, I'm going to turn that light down just a hair. We learned about the plants, more about Vash. I'm so excited. I'm like, what are we doing? And now we know that Vash could be a lot older than he looks, that he knows knowledge that we don't know. There's a lot of knowledge that he doesn't remember. There's stuff that happened at this town of July. There was an explosion that caused everything. Vash may have murdered someone. And there's all this extra little knowledge that has just come out of the woodwork that we, the audience, are like, wait, what did you just say? And now we have to piece it all together. So I really feel like with the last 2 episodes, the series has really started to pick up pace, and I'm really, really excited about it. So I couldn't help it. I had to just record ahead. I had to watch it. I was like, I need to know what happens. So yeah, that's basically where we are. I do have a couple of bits of information here from KA to talk about before we start. Way back in episode 4, Sheriff Stan was actually the same voice actor as Mihawk from One Piece. And I was like, that's kind of cool. That's neat. Bostock's daughter, the voice actress for her is actually the same voice actress for Lottie on Monster, which I'm watching now, which I was like, wow, that's a cool intersection of voice casting there. And then the butler that works with the daughter of Bostock is voiced by the same voice actor as Pastor Nick from Attack on Titan. I was like, huh, look at that. So again, it's so cool to see these voice actors from other series come out of the woodwork to be in this classic anime, and then we'll see them down the road in other shows. That's so freaking cool. I love that to pieces. But yeah, all of this mystery with Vash, I'm just like, this is my jam. When things get like, there's some mystery and some supernatural elements and it's a little sci-fi, and I'm like, what are we gonna do with all this? And you still have the humor and the engagement from Vash and Meryl and everybody else. It's just wonderful. I freaking love it so much. But yeah, I had to watch ahead and see what was gonna happen next. So I'm so excited, y'all. I can't wait to see what this episode has in store. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? So yeah, I'm pretty excited, y'all. I hope you all are too, but we're not going to waste any more time. It's late tonight, but I thought, you know what? Before I go to bed, I want to watch an episode of Trigun because my curiosity is piqued and I need to know more. So with that being said, we are going to start episode 7 of Trigun, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's jam. Well, oh my gosh. So we have a two-parter. Our first two-parter of the good old Trigun. I'm really excited. This episode, it felt like it was a really long episode, but there was lots that happened, and then it was over, and I was like, what? No, as we were getting towards the end of the episode, I was like, they're going to make this a two-parter, aren't they? Right? Because you expected, like, when Vash came in, I'm like, oh, is he going to save the day? But no, there's more to it than that. So, So it's basically this steamer is like the Titanic, and we are headed towards a sand iceberg that old B.D.N. is gonna use to try to crush it in half so he can take the stuff out of the vault. I'm like, how is he protecting himself while it is crushed? I'm like, does not compute. I guess we'll find out what his plan was with that. But the little boy, we got a lot more with him. He's an interesting side character, and we finally confirm that Rim is the girl that's in the OP with the of course the lake of glass right there and the rose petals. I'm like, okay, what is Rim? I find that Rim is interesting because, you know, you think of Rim, you think of the sleep cycles and stages of sleep, like the rapid eye movement, right? You think of Rim, or you think of the band REM. And so I'm like, okay, so Rim, interesting. And it's funny, he only sees her in his sleep. But I'm like, clearly, is she a former love interest? Is she a mentor? Is she a sibling? She seems like I was getting very Final Fantasy VII Aerith vibes from her. Or she was just like, oh, Cloud. I mean, Vash. You know, I was getting those vibes from her, especially with the rose petals. I'm like, interesting. Which would be about the same time the Final Fantasy VII came out, so maybe there's some connection here. But yeah, I did not realize there were 3 moons on this planet, so we're a little different than Star Wars. Instead of two suns, we have, maybe there are 2 suns, but there's 3 moons. They're on the outside. I love this opening scene with the Vash, thank you, we love you. I love the opening scene of the banquet there. You know why? Because it's just like a big old party, and it's very 90s party, like what you would expect a 90s house party to be. There's like, everybody's got this big old mug of beer. They give Vash the big ass beer, like the giantest mug they have. And there's like barely enough food to go around for everybody. So it's just people getting drunk. There's like barely any snacks left, right? But they're like, you saved us twice. You did it, Mr. Vash. You're so awesome. The outlaw who saved the city twice and got them the money. And then the one guy's like, isn't he a criminal? I love the humor of the show, and Vash is just like, ha ha ha, we're just gonna laugh it off and ignore that question. Ha ha. Really funny. I love the expressions of people. Like, there's some guy in the background behind Vash that has these big bug eyes as they hand him like the most giant beer possible. And I love that the crowd is just like, chug, 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 chug. It felt very 90s frat. It was really funny. And he just like blows off all this steam, and they're like, oh my God, what a champ. Again, if he's not human, if he's able to process all of this much quicker than a normal human, we're dealing with something here. But there is something to note with the drinking scene, and that Millie straight up drinks whiskey out the bottle. Like, girl is in it to win it, and she like overdrinks and is crouched on the table. I would be Millie at this party. Basically, I would be Millie, because I'd be like, I had too much whiskey, done, over it. Meryl does not look like she drinks. That looked like orange juice in the glass. She just has a little glass of juice. It looks like Meryl does not drink, which is interesting. Right? And then this Han Solo looking guy shows up with his glass, like out of nowhere, like to flirt with her, to give exposition, whatever. He's just like this little random exposition messenger that just sits beside Meryl to like point out something about Vash. And poor Millie couldn't be drunker. But what he says, though, is interesting, where he's like, he's an unusual guy. And I love this little kid. Like, this little kid's, like, hugging him around his middle, and the other guy's got his arm wrapped around him. Everybody is less tense now that the plant is fixed. But, you know, they're the ones who tried to kill him for the reward. Isn't that... He's kind of trying to make a comment to Meryl, being like, isn't it funny that they were all turned against him at one point, where, like, had him at gunpoint, but Vash doesn't seem concerned at all because everything worked out. It's like Vash does not hold a grudge, seemingly, which is curious because he's looking for someone, right? We know Vash is out to get somebody, but that's very interesting because it doesn't seem like he holds a grudge, because he doesn't care that the people 5 seconds ago were trying to kill him. Now he's okay with them. So whatever the man did that Vash is after has done something really bad. My theory is that he killed Rim. My theory is that whoever he's after has killed Rim, and that's why Vash is swearing revenge. But we don't know, right? But it's curious, though, that it says something for Vash's passion to go after this man when he just instantly was okay with the townsfolk, like, changing their tune instantly. And Meryl's like, all he does is make trouble. Just don't pay attention to him. The world would be better off without him. And I'm like, Meryl, come on, girl. I feel like Meryl doesn't really mean that, but she just says it in the moment. It's like, oh, girl, that's cold. And then Millie says, I disagree. I can handle it. I'm unique. I love that Vash seems to understand Millie. I love that moment where he's like, she is sharper than she looks, and it's only a good thing that she doesn't realize it. Like, that's the best. I love that Vash is like, no, Millie knows what's up. She just doesn't know that she knows what's up, and that's the only thing saving him. Love it. I love that. That's probably one of my favorite moments in this episode, where Vash is like, oh my God, these girls are too sharp. It's great. But then, yeah, they have this big party. And then, yeah, these 2 hoes were sent in to, like, give Vash a good time. And they're like, oh, he's already passed out. They, like, gave him a kiss on the cheek and on the head. He's out cold. And they're like, I gave him too much to drink. Sorry to call you both for nothing. I like that the mayor and stuff were trying to give Vash a good time by hiring these hookers to go sleep with him. And they were like, I'm like, I mean, thanks. Thanks, dudes, for trying to hook Vash up with these hoes. And then I love that the girls like look back at him and they gave him like the kiss on the cheek and the forehead. And they're like, I like they say hi to Sylvie for me. Like the guys go and visit them on the regular. I don't blame Vash for pretending to be asleep. She should save it for someone better. And the girl goes, it's too bad you don't get a chance to sleep with a guy like that every day. No, I'd say not, right? I mean, girls, I don't blame you for wanting to get with Vash. Vash is pretty hot. I don't blame you at all. But Vash, which is curious, right? Because they shut the door. They shut the door on him, and then he wakes up like instantly, like it was all an act. He was pretending to be too drunk to sleep with them. And then as he turns around on the bed, he says, what does he say there? He goes, I'm regretting it just a little. Like, I could have slept with those girls, but I didn't. So, but that's interesting, right? Because Vash so far has very much been the type of guy that he's been like, flirting with all these girls, being like, oh, my true love, let's get married, let's do that. But then when he's actually presented with the opportunity to actually get with a girl, he doesn't do it. So I think it's tied to that Rim character. I think that Rim is tied to it all, that there's a reason why he doesn't want to get with those girls, that he's saving it for somebody else. I mean, Rim's got black hair. Meryl has black hair. Can we do something? Do you have a type, Vash? None of the other girls that you flirted with have been the same type as old Rim, so I don't know. Also, when I think of Rim, I think of Death Note, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, and then he got on board the SS Anne sand steamer and took off. And then I love that Meryl and them are trying to, I love that she's just like packing her suitcase being like, damn it, Vash, we got to get aboard there. But they don't have any money. What I love is that this series mixes like the realism of the actual dilemma with the fantastical of the series. Because yeah, sand steamers, fantasy. The idea of Vash being this whatever he is, fantasy. But the girls having to get a part-time job on the sand steamer to pay for their fare, hilarious. It's just that little bit of cynical 90s realism that's injected into this fantasy world that I freaking love. It's something straight out of Spaceballs, and it's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I like all the kids even running up to Vash, being like, how could you leave us like this? He's got like a little pea shooter in his hand still, and Vash remembered his name. He was like, oh, don't give your mama too much trouble, Thomas. And then they all leave. And I love that shot of him with like the green eyes, like looking all handsome and debonair on the ship. And then he's like, I'm finally alone again. Like Vash likes being the loner. He doesn't want to involve anybody in his troubles. And then he gets hungover, which, dude, relate. I love that he's like all cramped up in like the most uncomfortable corner possible with the cold compress on his head, like trying to get over his hangover. I love that. You would think that'd be really uncomfortable, but if you've ever been hungover, sometimes getting yourself in the most ridiculous positions like does something to relieve some kind of pressure. I can't explain it. But yeah, so he gets hired to protect the ship because there's like the Bad Lad gang is coming, which the Bad Lad gang, like what the fudge. Let it be known, after Vash gets done using the bathroom, he does wash his hands. He is a man of class, right? So then this kid shows up. And I love that, granted, he made Vash's like head bleed, but honestly, if you have any type of head injury, like it will bleed a lot naturally, even if it's just like a shallow wound and not anything serious, it will bleed naturally quite a bit. And I love the kid just has like a possum hold on his arm. And then he makes up this story, or does he? Where he talks about how his parents died when he was very young and some distant relatives took me in, but it was horrible there. So my drunk aunt hit me and my really weird uncle tried to get with me. Like he makes all this shit up. And so I can escape if I make it to May. If they take me back, who knows what they'll do to me. So apparently are the landmark cities named after months of the year? Because we had July that blew up. And now we're talking about May. So I don't think he was talking about May the month. I think he meant May the year. May the city. I don't think he's meaning May the month, May the year. Blah. May the city is what he's talking about. So that's fascinating. Like there's maybe 12 major cities and they're all named after months of the year. That's what I was meaning. Yeah. And so he doesn't think Vash is going to believe this sob story because he's like, I've made it up and it's lame. But the question is, are his parents alive? Did his dad actually die and he stayed on the ship like for his memory? Because the boy's dad it's his ship and he knows every crevice, every department of it. So you would think that maybe he's tied to it because of his dad, but his dad's clearly not around. So there may be some truth to the lie. And of course, Vash is like, has a bleeding heart and supposedly believes him. We'll see, right? I don't know. That's the big question. Does he actually believe the boy, or was he just, pretending to believe him for the moment because he took pity on him? I don't know. It's weird that they misspell kiosk in this when we go back to where the girls are working, because it's Kiyyosk. There's not a Y in kiosk, I don't think there's a Y in kiosk, which is fascinating. But he's like 2 bacon lettuce dogs and 2 cartons of milk. Yeah, food for 2 is what he's ordering. And I love that the girls have their customer service smiles on, where they're just like, and Vash is like, oh my God, they're on the ship. He knows that he hasn't escaped them. 4 bags of pretzels and 1 pack of raisins. So one of them doesn't like raisins. The question is, does Vash not like raisins, or does the kid not like raisins? I'm going to say the kid doesn't like raisins, right? I'm dying to know why you guys are doing this. Ah! I love that. And the girls are like, we have to pay for the ship. And the total's $12.75. What a steal. And I love it that he's like, my sole salvation is that the tall one doesn't realize how sharp she is. I love it. I just love it. And so, yeah, he gets in the room and gives the kid the lettuce dogs and everything. I wanted to see if I could catch when the kid's drugging the milk, right? Because he's like, the pretzels, okay, and he's getting the 2. He eats both of them, right? And then he just nods at Vash like, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, bro. Vash is like, oh, my God. I do like that shot where it's the peephole and he's looking out of it. And it's like, you can see the sand that's made like a limestone ring around the window. I really like that, like, wear and tear. There are little details in this episode that are really well done. And we were talking about it in the comments and on the Discord. But the budget, obviously, I mean, it's, late 90s anime. The budget is not amazing for this series. But like I said in the Discord, I can overlook a weak budget for an animation if the plot and the characters and the humor are good. If the other elements of the series are good, then I can overlook the animation not being top notch, right? Now, if an anime is reliant upon that animation, then yeah, then you're kind of like, you sort of depend on it a little bit to be of a certain caliber. But if you're not, like with this series, I'm not watching Trigun for the stellar animation. I'm watching it because the characters are really cool and I like the nostalgia and I like the plot so far. So, but I think this episode does do a nice nod of little touches, like the window edges having that grain on them. And then when you look behind, I love seeing the lights on the sand to see that nobody's behind them. I love little details like that. They kind of bring the whole thing together in a really cool way. I like it. And so, yeah, that's when he realizes that it really is dark. There's not a light to be seen. So we don't see him drug the milk, but we know that he does, right? Or drugs the tea or something, whatever it is, right? And the fact of the matter that there's no lights outside means that his flare is going to be seen. It'll be bright soon enough. And that's when Vash is drugged. Yep, and the kid's like, sorry, man. Sorry, Vash, I got things to do. Now, I feel like I feel like the kid put him on the bed before he crawled up into the vent, Mr. Goody Goody, because when we see Vash again, he's on the bed. So the only explanation is the boy put him up there before he went off to, like, put everybody else to sleep. And we see people gambling on the ship. We see that. We see the lights come up. And then we have B.D.N. I'm sorry, but y'all, B.D.N's design is absolutely wonderful. He's giving me such Kenny vibes from Attack on Titan. If Kenny did Drag Race, that's the vibes that I'm getting from him. If our boy Kenny did RuPaul's Drag Race, I would be getting because that outfit looks straight off the runway. It's so ridiculous. The big sleeves, the neon. I'm surprised I haven't seen it. He has like the long cigarette on a stick. Come on now. It's absolutely gaudy and I freaking love it. I can't get enough. He talks about them being his dogs. And yeah, very Mad Max, very sci-fi futuristic. And then yeah, they're able to take the ship because I love they're like the backstab bastard thieving jerkwads. They're able to take the ship because the boy put the rest of them to sleep. Right? There's no response. Yep, everybody that would fire the cannons is asleep, and the boy did it so they could take the ship over. So meanwhile, Meryl and Millie get woke up. I like that Millie has her hair in braids with the bows, and she has like these matching pajama sets, and Meryl's just like in a guy's shirt. Love it so much. And they both fall out. It's great. I like to imagine that her shirt is like one of Millie's shirts because it's too big on her. And then they're able to like infiltrate the ship. It felt very Star Wars when they like the shot of the guys in the corridor as the one bomb comes in and like clears the room for B.D.N to stop by and to like waltz up. It felt very A New Hope where Vader first comes on the scene on the Star Cruiser that's Leia's. Felt very much Star Wars, which was fun. I liked that little reference. The Dreadnought Raiders and the Bad Lad Leader. What does he call himself? It's something ridiculous. He's like shoots the thing or whatever. He's like, all that glitters in the ship belongs to me. I mean, he is one step away from being a drag queen. And then yeah, the boy shows back up. He's like, oh, you worked brilliantly, kid. Yeah. Imagine that. And then what did he say? The bad... Whoa, God, I was trying to find his name on there. Because he tells the kid, take me to the room or whatnot. I want to see what he said his name was. If he would say it out loud. It was like something Dynamite, the Ultimate Magnificent Dreadnought Raiders, the Bad Lad Leader. Yeah, Brilliant Dynamite's Neon. How? B.D.N. We're going to call him B.D.N. because that seems legit. So yeah, so Vash has the dream where I want to go back to the lyrics of this song. He has the song. The girl Rim from the back, she reminds me a lot of he's from Yu Yu Hakusho. Kuruma? Oh God, now I'm gonna feel bad for forgetting his name. Krasna. Yu Yu Hakusho. Was it Kurama? Thank you, Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. She was reminding me a lot of Kurama with the long flowy hair and the rose petals. So the song is on the first evening, a pebble from somewhere drops onto the world. So like a pebble from somewhere dropping onto the world. Is that indicative of Vash coming into the world? Maybe? So on the second evening, the children of the pebble join hands. Oh, so it's saying that like on the first evening, this individual came down into the world, and the second evening, their children joined hands together around it. Interesting. I love these on this plane that looks like the sky and composed a waltz. Interesting. And then he knows it's Rim with all the flowers. She says, I'm so excited. She's dressed very plainly. I'm so excited. The meaning of life. You're very serious-minded, aren't you, Vash? Which is so curious because every time we've seen Vash so far, he has not been serious-minded. Not at all. Like, he's been quite goofy. But she's suggesting he's very serious. And we kind of have gotten hints that he's serious under the surface of it all. But for her to outwardly know that about him and saying we decide our own destinations. Basically saying we choose our own fate, right? We choose how things end. And then she says, you're such a baby. Our tickets to the future are blank. Meaning there's no future is certain, right? Please decide your own destiny. So she's like, it almost feels like she's saying, don't chase after revenge for this one guy. You have your whole future ahead of you. You control your destiny. Don't chase after this one guy based on me. live your own life. Seems like that's what she's telling him, but the question is, were these her dying words, or was this what she told him before she disappeared? Like, what's the situation? And then he asks for Rim to stay and cries out to her, and then he wakes up and starts crying. It's like, huh. So yeah. So there's something about Rim and her telling him to decide his own fate. Curious indeed. But then he sees the goon and goes to the ship. This whole thing with old B.D.N. is quite gory. This series, I'm like, it tends to get violent real quick, and I'm like, holy cow. So they find out the vault can't just be open. Nobody has the combination, which kind of makes sense because it'd be real easy to rob a ship if somebody knew the combination. So they're like, no, we have to wait till we dock in the city for you to get the combination. So it would be much harder to steal from. Because if somebody stolen from it in the middle of the desert, like right now, like they said, there's no lights, so they could just hightail it out of there with whatever they had. But if you're in the city, it's harder to get away because there's so many people around. So yeah, the fact that there's not the combination makes sense. But then B.D.N's just like, well, fine, we'll just blow up the ship and split the vault in half. Makes sense. And then he tries to get the one guy to just like full steam ahead. And around this time, Meryl and Millie are like, what do we do? And I'm glad that our girls are smart enough to be like, we have no weapons. We can't do anything against an armed gang. And Millie's like, so Vash? And Meryl's like, fine, Vash. Like, I love it as much as it pains her. And then Vash, meanwhile, is like trying to like scoot through the vents, but he's like 7 foot tall, so it's not easy. And the boy understands what's happening with the ship. Like, the fact of how he shoots the conductor, like the guy that's steering the ship, he shoots him once and then just shoots him repetitively for no reason. I'm like, dude, we got to establish how messed up and evil B.D.N. is in this episode so that it will make sense why Vash has to fight him. And that poor kid seeing him like dead in the floor and then realizing what B.D.N's plan is. I like that the little radar there looks like a dragon radar built into the console. And the kid realizes that his plan is to like run the ship into the mountainside, into the precipice, as it were. And so he's like, I just need you to speed it up. Isn't it sad enough to make you cry? And the kid's like, whatever you do. He's like, I only helped you because I thought you were just going to rob the ship and leave it. He's like, I wouldn't have helped you if I knew you were going to try to destroy the ship, right? Because then we find out the ship was his dad's. And so we don't know anything else about the boy and the relationship with his dad. But we know the ship was his dad, so he has a big attachment to it. And so, God, B.D.N., just like he crushes the boy's head so much that when he lets go, he like loses a tooth and there's blood. I'm like, what the hell? He says, anything but the ship. And then he just puts the gun in his mouth. And I'm like, what the heck? I was like, show, I don't think they're going to blow the head off a kid. But at this point, I could be wrong. And then luckily, that's when Vash shows up. And Vash is like, hell no. And the thing that's crazy about it is that when you see Vash blow in the window, you see B.D.N. stop with the gun. He was watching him the whole time to see him. Vash or B.D.N. rather, has a very like hunter vibe to him, like a very like Craven the Hunter vibe to him, that he wants to just like hunt Vash down because he's a worthy opponent and he hasn't had one of those in a while. Because yeah, he lets Vash take the kid and run and just stares at him and is like, what is he supposed to be? And thinking like this could actually be a worthy opponent. And so he asks the dogs of his to go find something gorgeous as a souvenir. So I'm like, are they going to try to use Meryl and Millie as hostages? Are they going to try to do that to lure Vash over? It'll work, but what are we going to do? And then, yeah, I like the shenanigans of Vash and the kid. Like, as they, like, get hit by the debris from the cliff and as they hang onto the side of the pipes to get out of there and everything. I love that. I think that's so fun. And I like that Vash is developing this relationship with this kid And, you know, Vash is a vagabond, so as soon as all of this is over, he's going to try to leave. But I'm going to be curious to see what their relationship ends up being. Like, what does he learn about the kid's dad? Does he tell the kid about Rim to show that he relates? How does that work? And we don't get to find any of this out until the next episode. But yeah, then there's a warehouse. And old Millie and Meryl right behind the goons, like they're going to knock them out and take their place. I'm excited. I have a feeling it's going to lead to shenanigans where Vash like fights them on accident and they're both like, no, it's Meryl and Millie. Don't hit us. And Vash will be like, why are you fighting? Why are you wearing those weird suits? Something like that. But yeah, now B.D.N is making the captain do full steam ahead on the ship towards the precipice. Like, what the hell? What the hell, y'all? So anyway, I can't believe we just had a two-parter and this was only part one. I'm really curious about the mystery with the kid. I'm very curious about Rim. I feel like Rim is going to be something that we are going to find out about as the series progresses. And I love all the further crumbs of details we're getting about Vash. Really fun stuff. So yeah, I'm so curious, y'all, to know what you thought of this episode, what you think of Millie and Meryl working on the ship, what you think of this kid, and then B.D.N. What a weird, outrageous, badass character design. B.D.N. is absolutely awful, but I love his character design so much. So yeah. In any case, I'm excited, y'all. I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait for episode 8. I don't know. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'm going to be back very soon with more episodes of Trigun. Bye.